right, so down below in the description, you will see a song that we've put there that we're going to be programming to. And this is just going to kind of get us started so we can work towards something. So, what is the first thing we need to do as we start programming for that?
So in this particular song, I've listened to it 100 times. Um, I will start with the very beginning. So, um, what do I want that beginning opening part to look like? That I know it's a keyboard intro. Well,
Mm-hmm.
do I want to have a spotlight on the keyboard? Do I want to do a wash across the stage? That's just a choice you have to make. And in this case, let's say I want to do a spotlight on the keyboard. I may pick a light, turn it on, and I created a preset for keyboard. So I may use that preset. I may, zoom it down a little bit to kind of give it some more. That may be my first cue. I would store that as a cue and move on to the next thing, which in this case is the girl singer. So I would store that as a cue. So I'll go to my sequence screen, store in any sequence there, and then I'll assign that to a button just so I easily can play it back. So I'll assign that to there, and then I'll select it so now it's editable, and then I'll just hit go plus and it'll advance to that cue. That cue is now our first cue in the song, so there we go. Then okay, now we know that the singer is going to come on, so I'll go over to this spot here. Let's do this spot here for number 4, and we'll turn it on to 100, and I created a preset for my singer, so oops, wrong singer. We'll go there, and that may be my second cue for that to come on, so I'll just hit store, please, and it's going to ask me what I want to do. I'm going to create a second cue so we can see that, and then I'll hold on clear and it'll go away. Now I have that on, and my second cue is going to go in 3 seconds like that. Well, that's not quite right. I don't want the light to move like that, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my first cue. I'm going to take light number 4 and I'm going to go ahead and put it in its position, and I'm going to update. I'll update my cue, and then I'm going to hold on clear, and then now that light should automatically go on. It's at 0 time, so you can just adjust the time as you go along. I work from the very beginning all the way through the end because I want to make sure that I'm building on top of something that I've already created, and not saying, oh, well, it'd be cool to do this in the bridge, and you go create something for the bridge, and then you try to go back to the beginning. You're going to get so confused with where you're at in the song. I just start from the very beginning, work all the way to the end, and then I tweak as I go. So
now, do you, whenever you're programming, do you have to decide beforehand on what type of programming you're wanting to do, whether it's being performance or like worship?
yeah, yes, you really need to decide that up front. You may be, one song may be a performance song and one song may be a worship song.
Mm.
Usually that's going to be very clear in the type of song it is. This song is really a worship song, so I probably wouldn't you do spots like I'm doing, but I think it's just a choice. So make a choice. If I wasn't doing spots, probably what I would do is more of a wash across the stage, and then I would highlight the singer. So don't highlight the keyboard, highlight the singer. It's just it's just a style difference, and there's no right and wrong. So it's whatever you pick, and then I'm not the only eyes that are going to see this, so it's not for me. It's for the audience and for whoever's viewing it. So I want to make sure it's very clear and very precise on what I'm doing. So so that's just the basic presetting for the first 2 cues of my song.
So you start with the position, and I noticed that you're using white. Do you always start with white?
I always start with white. I may start adding color here in about 3 or 4 cues, but I do white so I can kind of see what's happening. If I have 2 spotlights on, they're probably not going to be the same color. They're probably going to be opposite colors. So I don't have to pick that right now. All I'm doing is what it's going to look like, so where the beam is pointing. So that's all I'm focused on the first time around. So I'll get 2 or 3 cues in before I ever add color. So you don't have to pick color to that point. You can build your whole show before you ever add color, because all I have to do is go back to my first cue and say light number 4, I want that to be cyan, update, and then advance, and it's gonna stay that color until I change it. So I don't have to pick any color at any point. I can do it all halfway through the song or all the way through the song before I ever pick color. So I'll usually go and create all of my looks first throughout the song. So I'll say, and I'll go through, so like in this case, we have the keyboard intro, then we have the singer come on, then it'll go into a chorus, which I will add more lights. So in this case, I'll probably say, okay, let's turn on the rest of our spots, and we're gonna not turn them on right now. We're just gonna set them in a preset and not turn them on, and we're just gonna do we're not gonna do all the lights because we already have one on the singer. We don't want to move it, so we're gonna say 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we're gonna say we want those to go to that position. That you can't really tell what they're doing right now. You don't need to worry about that. You know what they're doing in your mind because you created the preset. We're going to update that cue, and then we're going to turn them on. So there you go, right? Mm-hmm. So that's our next look for our chorus. So we'll store that.
Now, do you also go ahead and store the intensity level or the dimmer level?
Yes, because if you don't store the intensity, you won't see the light. Okay. So when you want basically what I'm doing is storing what's going on and off. That's pretty much all I'm storing at this point. So we'll hit store here, and we'll store there, and that'll store another cue, so we can watch it play out here. And let me go ahead and change some timing in here. No, they come on. We'll have to change the timing on all these cues as well. It's not super important right now for timing. If you know what your looks are going to be, you can definitely change them, whenever you want. So we'll go to execute a screen. You can see my times here. I'll just change them all to 3, or we can do 8 for that matter. So we'll go back here. This is our first cue, right? Our piano light. And then we probably don't want our singer to come on in 8 seconds. We probably want that more like 4 seconds. So it fades in like that. And then our lights are going to come on in 8 seconds for our chorus. Now, I may like that, and we may not want to change it, but I might say, oh man, I don't know that I really want them steady. I want them to do some movement. So what I'll do is I'll go back to the previous cue. I'll select those lights one more time. Not selecting the 9th light and the 4th light, and then I'll say let's do those at this position, and then update that. And then now what's going to happen is over the 8 seconds they're actually going to move. Well, they're not, because I haven't stored data into that cue, so we'll reselect them there. And then go to our preset we want. We want to do that preset, right? So then we hit update that cue. And then you just go back, and then you advance forward. They should move over the 8 seconds time. You can change the time on the pan and tilt, no problem. So
basically everything follows the cue. So if there's a position or color or anything at all, any parameters at all that are changed from one cue to the next, they stay there in that cue until they're changed.
That's 100% correct. So okay. I can add 50 cues down the line, and if I never change those 9 lights that are on right now, they will stay just like that until I make a change to them. So that's called tracking. It's very, very helpful and very, very confusing at the same time. Just know that a light that is unchanged remains unchanged until you change it. That's pretty much what tracking is. So, and as you can see, this is all trial and error. Nothing is right or wrong. So I may create a cue and then hate it and go back and change it. Nothing wrong with that. I do that all the time. So it's all trial and error, just figuring out what looks good. The keys are I use white, open white, so I can actually see where the lights are going to be pointed. I'll go back and add the color later because it doesn't matter right now. I'll go back and add gobo patterns later and all that stuff later on. So I don't need to do any of that in the first. I may get a third of the way through the song before I ever add any of that stuff. I may get all the way through the song before I add any of that. Now, if I know that I want to do something right there and that's where I want that to happen, I may go ahead and add that in at that time, but you don't have to. You can come back and do it later. So,
All right. Well, thanks for getting us started, and we'll see you in the next episode.
see ya.